So President Trump signed an executive order yesterday directing the Justice Department to investigate and prosecute people for burning the American flag.
Didn't the Supreme Court already?
They did.
Handle this?
Long time ago.
1989 actually is the year that the Supreme Court ruled the Constitution allows it. The president acknowledged this ruling when signing the order yesterday, but seemed to brush it off.
All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail.
So just a few hours later, a man set fire to an American flag across the street from the White House, protesting Trump's executive order. He was arrested by federal authorities, but not for burning a flag, not for violating the order. Rather, he was charged with violating a statute that prohibits lighting a fire in a public park.
David Drucker, is very interesting. You've had a lot of conservatives over the past several days very concerned about things that have been going on, and you know, the socialization of Intel, sort of the Clement Attlee move to take over, have the federalized 10% of one of our most important tech companies. Yesterday, after this executive order, you had Eric Erickson on flag burning. Obviously, Eric, like me and like I think most Americans, despise flag burning, but Eric Erickson once again said, what are we doing here? What are we doing? What's the purpose of this, especially since the Supreme Court has already settled on this? Talk about why the president did something that he knows the Supreme Court is likely to rule unconstitutional.
Well, because nobody's going to stop him if and until it winds its way through the courts. And so when you're trying to accumulate power and you're trying to reset the table for the rules of the game, you just declare yourself the arbiter of the rules, and you say, try and stop me. And look, as we've seen with Trump, whether you like what he's done or not, and of course on the right with a lot of Republican voters, they like it. What he's doing is saying that I'm not going to follow convention. I'm not going to get caught up in the details of the Constitution. I'm more concerned about you and doing what's right. You saw in that clip with, where he's saying, I'm not a dictator. I don't like dictators. I'm just a man with common sense. I mean, this is a part of the language and a part of the political message, which is we're not having a philosophical debate here. We're not getting caught up in legal details. I'm concerned about you and your everyday life and making life better for you. It goes back to his opening speech 10 years ago when he, talked about Republicans who were arguing over who was more conservative, and the president said, I think people just want a job. Now, we're a far cry from that speech, but it's part and parcel of his approach. And in this second term, you have nobody around him who's willing to stop him or who's inclined to stop him. They're inclined to try and find legal reasoning for whatever he wants to do. And look, Republicans in Congress are simply, unless something changes, they've watched the president go through everything he went through at the end of his first term and in the interregnum, and they're saying to themselves, it is not politically prudent for me to get in the way of him. And right. Joe, I don't have to tell you, but the way our system's designed is checks and balances, right? Congress is supposed to be there to check the president. And if the Supreme Branch is not going to do its job, then we're going to end up in this situation.
Yeah, and the Supreme Branch is the Article I branch. It is it's Congress. Specifically, it is the House of Representatives.
People forget we don't have co-equal branches. We have Article I, the Supreme Branch, and then the other two. Right. But the Article I branch is acting like Article none.
Yeah, and the Article I branch, as we all, when we were there and, fighting to balance the budget all those years ago, you'd have members that would wear buttons that said Article I. Mm-hmm. And anytime a president, anytime a member of the Senate, anytime anybody ever gave us guff, I'll say this morning, for the children who are waking up, would say, we got the checkbook. You know, you can insult us all you want to. You can try to run over us all you want to. But if we don't pay for it, if we don't authorize it, if we don't appropriate the money for it, you can't do it. And these people are acting just so weak. It's incredible. But, you know, Gene Robinson, here we are. Again, we just talked about crime, where the president set something up, hoping the Democrats will oppose it and make him look like he's tough on crime. We have it with the same thing with the flag. The president does something that he knows the Supreme Court's already said he can't do, but he doesn't expect anything out of this other than Democrats to immediately come out and support flag burning. And he can say, look, they're supporting flag burning. I mean, it's almost like George H.W. Bush going to flag factories in the summer of 1988. It's like it just sets Democrats up to fail. So they need to be able to say something and point to people like Eric Erickson, who says the president's executive order on flag burning isn't legal, but it will get the Democrats to go out and burn American flags. Yet again, putting them on the 20% side of an 80-20 issue. I don't think Democrats will go out and burn American flags. But I would say even this issue is not an 80-20 issue. I would say this is probably a 95-5 issue. I mean, overwhelming majority of Americans deeply offended, like I am, and angry when people burn the American flag. But again, you know, that we live in a country that allow the Klan to march down the street in Skokie, Illinois. It's the First Amendment, and you know the First Amendment is not meant to protect speech that we like. It's meant to protect speech that we hate.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't allow unpopular speech and sometimes ugly speech, the First Amendment doesn't mean anything. That's what it's there for. And I just really wanted to point out that one of the justices who joined in that 1989 decision that said, no, flag burning is protected was Antonin Scalia. Justice Scalia, one of the most conservative justices
a North
ever.
Star for conservatives,
In American history, joined liberal Justice Brennan's opinion that it was protected by the Constitution. And Scalia later asked about it. Said, "Look, if it were up to me, I would put every scruffy flag burner in jail. But I am not king." And Donald Trump, you are not king. Now, Congress and the Supreme Court should tell you that, should remind you that you are not king, but you are not king. You don't get to make up a law and a penalty with an executive order and just say, you're in jail, and you get your head chopped off or whatever. I mean, this is ridiculous. What country is this? This is insane. And so you're probably right. It is a political move. It's just to make noise and fill out this episode of the Donald Trump reality show. But where is Congress and where is the Supreme Court? Because it's time for you guys to get in the game.
Yeah, I'm very glad that on this Tuesday morning we're back to restoring monarchy on Morning Joe.
There you go.
It's clearly what is
right. I am displeased. I am displeased by this flag burning.
With his head. But, I mean, your point about the Democrats is right. And Donald Trump knows this. He uses, the famous Trump derangement syndrome completely to his advantage. He plays his opponents masterfully in order to get them to a position where he can say, you see, Trump derangement syndrome, everything I do, they criticize. And he pushes Democrats into a position where they're jumping the shark on a range of issues where they put themselves out of step with the American public, whether it's the flag or whether it's crime. And their decision then is, what do you respond to and what do you not respond to and how do you respond to it? And I think so far they haven't figured out the best possible way of trying to respond to Donald Trump in a way that sets them up for success in the midterms or in the next election.
Yeah, I mean, Gene gave us a good indicator there. She said, I agree with what Scalia said.
Right.
about flag burning. Scalia was right. It's just like on immigration. A lot of times people quote Ronald Reagan on immigration, and they could quote Scalia on immigration. There's a great clip of Scalia when he's with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and somebody said to migrants, to illegal immigrants, are they protected under the Constitution? He said, if you're in the United States of America, you are protected by the United States Constitution. If you are an American overseas, you were protected by the United States Constitution. If you're not an American overseas, you're not. But Scalia, Reagan, these people that laid the foundation for modern American conservatism, you know, very clear, very clear on issues like this, on issues like immigration, on issues like free trade. Just go down the line. This does not come close to resembling a conservative Republican Party. It's Donald Trump's Republican Party, and that's it. End of story.
Senior writer for The Dispatch, David Drucker, thank you as always for coming on the show this morning and still